.5 so FM, 2 minutes after the hour of 10 a.m. in Surface and Lucia, and of course the Eastern Caribbean. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I want to say a special good morning to all those of you again who have joined us virtually with me. I have Mrs. Joseph Robinson, yes, Miss Pamela Joseph with us, and she has joined us virtually, and it's all about sharing her journey with us. A special good morning to you once again, and thank you so much. I know it's the first time you have joined me on this platform. Let's hear it from you, who you are, just a short introduction, and share a bio with us as well.
Thank you, Sabrina. Thank you for having me this morning. I know we go way back from high school, so thank you. Well, my name is Pamela Michelle Joseph Robinson, and I keep the Joseph because it's my maiden name. And I just want to say thank you for having me. I am originally from Fosse Jacques Soufrière, born and raised in Soufrière on the beautiful island of St. Lucia. And I am known as the confidence architect. I am known as a global speaker. I am known as a corporate trainer. What do? I speak on global stages and I help organizations strengthen their leadership, elevate their performance, increase productivity, and bottom line profitability. So my work really blends psychology, communication, strategy, and global leadership experience from the Caribbean, which is where I started, to Asia and North America. Through my company, Fusion Force, I deliver keynote speaking, corporate training, and service excellence programs. I also have mentorship programs for our young people. One of the things I really love to do is to inspire our young people because they are the future leaders of tomorrow, to inspire them and help them to learn to believe in themselves, to build the confidence that they need to survive in an ever-changing world.
Definitely, I strongly agree with that as well. If we were to speak to inspiration, what inspired your journey into corporate training and, of course, motivational speaking?
What really inspired my journey? I started in the hospitality industry, from bussing tables to serving to being a hostess to being a destination management rep. So, the person you see sitting in front of you today did not start where she is. I started from the bottom up. And so I remember at one particular hotel, I was the assistant general manager in charge of sales and marketing. And every time we had a customer complaint, my team, I would bring all the team together, including the leaders. At the time, I probably was one of the youngest leaders in the room. And I would ask them, but why the complaint? Find out the root cause. Where did it start? How can we make it better? How can we avoid it in the future? And all of them would say, you know what? I think you were born for this because you inspire us. And so, everything has a way of aligning. So one time I was told about Les Brown, who I bet maybe you've heard about, one of the world's renowned motivational speakers was coming to St. Lucia. And he was being hosted in St. Lucia by Miss Carmelita Xavier, who I affectionately call Auntie Cam. And I was invited to hear Les Brown speak. And immediately, Cabrina, I knew that was a calling. And I started pursuing ways that I can reach out to him, ways that I can meet him. And long story short, I took a journey or a trip to California, Los Angeles, where I met with Les Brown. I was personally trained by him. And then I came back to my country, that is St. Lucia, started giving back by speaking at schools. And I used the message, which I believe that without God, we're nothing. With God, we're everything. So I figured if I started with our young ones from the classrooms, I would make a difference. I would be making a change. And that's where I really started with the message, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you, which is Philippians 4, verse 13.
Unbelievable. This is also what speaks to my heart as well. And I truly believe, as much as we get on with our day to day, We needed to have some spiritual belief. We need to find that grounding with our Savior.
That's very important. Another thing that I can't stop talking about. I have to say that my true inspiration really begins with my upbringing. Our upbringing, because as we know, we become a product of our environment. And I was raised in a single parent household by my mom, who lives in Fosse Jacques Soufrière, affectionately called Dudu or Margaret. We are from a family of four girls and one boy. I can't begin to tell you how my brother was spoiled rotten. But the values that my mom taught us, she worked incredibly hard to give us what she had, which was everything she had at the time. But she taught us honesty, integrity, empathy, kindness, and respect, not just for ourselves, but for others. At that time, it was a village raising a child. And she is my greatest example of leadership. One of my greatest examples of inspiration. Can you imagine my mom taught to learn to drive at the age of 65? That's a blessing in and of itself.
Wow, wow, wow. If I were to just extract a little from that conversation as well, where you mentioned it takes a village to raise a child, and sadly, we've really seen that culture has slowly been, erased from our society, and hence the reason as well we tend to have so many problems on our hands with delinquent behavior as well, with gun and gangs, because people have actually turned away from God as well, and they've lost that culture where you can correct someone's child if needs be.
This is so true, if I may add my 2 cents to that. And that is why every time I hear a shooting at a school or something horrible has happened at a school, I always go back to this. You see, you cannot build a house without a foundation. There is absolutely no way. Try it, you won't even be able to put up a stone. And so I believe that prayers, that's our very foundation. It's our very core. And when you take that away from schools, you're taking away our foundation. And now you have schools where it's almost as if it's a crime to even start school with prayer. So if you don't have a foundation to build a house, you don't have a house. And so it's the very same thing. And strangely, you would mention that because it's one of the pillars that my mom raised us on. My mom, at the time, we had a very small house. My mom would call all of us into her room and say, kneel down at the bed to pray. And I remember my sister, who's older
Yes.
than me, sometimes we would be laughing, and my mom would make sure she stopped us. And to this day, I can recite from my heart Psalms 23, Psalms
Mhm.
27, Psalms 121, and we would end with gratitude, Psalms 150. And to the end, she would say, the family that prays together stays
Praise
together. To this
together.
day, we are all together. Of course, every family will have their ups and downs, and it's not a perfect life, but we are all together. Thank God for that.
Yes. At this moment, I just want to pay recognition to Kairos Connection. Thank you so much. He is actually on Marcus Joseph, that is Mufasa, if you're familiar with
I
him.
am. I am. I know
Yes,
him
yes,
very well. As a matter of
yes,
fact, a few days ago, he reached out to me on Facebook for connection.
yes. With any and everything else, there are always challenges, and it is, in fact, we have to continue to persevere. And I think giving up is definitely not an option. So, how best are you able to navigate your challenges or even your obstacles as well? And especially as a means of inspiration to those of us who are like so quick, to call the quit on, whatever it is that we're undertaking.
Well, I am a strong advocate for saying don't give up. I always believe that sometimes that moment you give up, your breakthrough was just round the corner. One of my major challenges was stepping away from a secure career in hotel management. right? For decades, I was in hotel management to start my own company. And Cabrina, I have to share with you that entrepreneurship is really rewarding. Of course, you can manage your time and everything, but success is not an overnight thing. For those who are listening to us today who are planning to become entrepreneurs, have your own business, it's very rewarding, but you have to be prepared to put in the work. You're looking at when you're working a 9 to 5 job, unless you're working overtime, it's normally a 40-hour week. When you're working for yourself, sometimes you don't even count the hours, only to realize you've put in at least 100 hours for the week. And this is no exaggeration. But you know what? Moving away from a career in hotel where I had a monthly salary, stable income coming in, it required courage, it required faith, and it required resilience. And I lean heavily on the lessons my mom taught me. As I said, I saw her working hard. But you know what? She never gave up. And through strength, discipline, and belief in ourselves, we will start seeing every challenge as an opportunity. I want to share with our listeners today that before you get a yes, be prepared for at least 100 no's. Even those of you who are just getting into the world of work and we believe, you know what, we now have our degrees, qualifications, it will be easy. Sorry to bust your bubble. It's not that easy. But if you remain focused, you keep your eyes on the prize, and you put God first, and you ensure that you know your worth, because if you know your worth, you know you won't give up. Through resilience, through strength, through Christ who strengthens you, you will use every obstacle and turn them into opportunities for growth. And that's what I did.
Thank that is motivation right there. Thank you, and I'm sure a lot of persons are really applauding you in that moment. And somebody somewhere definitely needed to hear that at this point in time.
Thank you.
Before we actually get into the nitty gritties as well, recently you concluded a trip from Africa. You want to share that with us?
Oh my God, I am still
Yes.
on a high in regards to my trip to Africa. I was invited to South Africa, Johannesburg, by the Unique Speaker Bureau to present as a keynote speaker on a global stage. My topic was reframing uncertainty for growth, from fear to forward. Again, looking at challenges and seeing the opportunities in those challenges. As soon as I was invited, I got to work because I have said, and people who's closest to me, they will tell you, I say all the time, I see myself as a female version of, um, oh my God, how could he slip from my mind? But anyway, Tony Robbins, and but without the curse words because he loves to use his curse words. I see myself as a younger version of Oprah Winfrey. Combine these two characters, Cabrina, you get a powerhouse. And I thought, I'm going to the motherland. What am I going to give back? That was my first thought. Growing up in the community of Fosse Jacques, I was raised by around the Rastafarians. Of course, I used to hear the song by Lucky Dube, "Remember Me." You know that line that says, "The streets of Soweto, no place to come and go." And Cabrina, I was in Soweto, so I started doing some homework, and it's a small world. Today, if there's one message I want to share with the world, is to remember to be kind in everything that you do, because whatever you give out, you get back. One of my closest friends lives in Rodney Bay. I met her again working in the hospitality industry. Her name is Nonto. And when I told her I was heading to South Africa, she is originally from Swaziland. It's called now Eswatini in South Africa. She said, "But Pammy, my sister lives in Johannesburg. Where will you be?" Can you imagine? I met my girlfriend over 10 years ago. Today I'm heading to the motherland, and she's telling me her sister lives close by. So she put us in touch, and I told her sister my goal and what I aspire to do, and she connected me. The very first radio station I spoke at was called um what was Alex FM. And this is the area. It's in a town called Alexandra. This is where Nelson Mandela first set foot when he arrived in South Africa. Can you imagine this? I felt I was on top of the world. And then I got the chance to speak. I had the opportunity to speak to students in Johannesburg, where you have the more affluent people living. But we agreed that I would go to the more marginalized areas where children needed a word of encouragement, Cabrina. And this was the highlight of my trip, not even speaking on a global stage, but to be able to go into those schools, walk on the streets of Soweto, and give back to those children. And you know what? To hear them coming up to me and they want to hug me, and a colored person like themselves, motivating them and inspiring them to believe in themselves. But what was the touchiest part was when I was leaving that school in Soweto, because I went to several schools, a young girl came up to me and she said, Mom, I did not believe in myself. I did not believe that God was real. But if you could have made it so far, I am now believing. That is a lesson in and of itself.
Your phone.
That is a lesson in and of itself. That was the highlight of my trip. So I will forever remember South Africa. I will forever remember the hospitality of the people. And I just felt like I belong.
I think it's always inspiring when we step out of our comfort zone, and there are always lessons to be learned from there. And if we were to say, I mean, be in St. Lucians as well, we tend to take a lot of things as if they don't matter, But we tend to have different perspective when we get out there. A lot of things we dismiss and take for granted. Setting foot in, well, not just the motherland, but anywhere else, a new territory for that matter, everything it's just opening, it's breathtaking, and it's giving you a new perspective of life, of yourself, of everything, and just redefining the whole purpose of even why you were there for that matter. And I'm really happy, and I think it's timely that you're here today, especially as we commence the new year 2026. And some persons need that motivation, they need that grounding. And again, a lot of times when we commence the new year, we have what we call a new year resolution as well. But I am for it, but at the same time I'm not, and it's just my opinion. I believe you need to set goals for yourself. You need to have um, values, core values, principles. And it's not just waiting for a new year to say, okay, the new year is coming, I want to do this, I want to do that. But it should be in you on a daily basis of the little development and self improvement, and not just waiting for, because the years come and go so quickly. And at the end of it all, sometimes you find, okay, but what did I do? What did I accomplish? It's like I'm still the same me, and you never turn the new leaf or chapter.
Very well said. Let me just go back a little bit in terms of, you made a very valid point in terms of taking things for granted. Cabrina, I wanted to mention that whilst at that particular school in Soweto, when I was about to leave, it was probably around 11:30. And I watched those children. They all lined up, and I was asking, and they had a plastic container in their hands. And I am asking, but what are they doing with the plastic containers? And they were like, Mom, we're heading for lunch. And there was a long, probably about 8-foot table with big pots, maybe the biggest I have seen. I know we have big pots back at home, but it's the biggest I had seen, with rice, jasmine rice, or what we call back home white rice, stewed cabbage, and soybeans. They had no meat or fish or anything. And that was their meal. And I was told they bring their containers, and these are containers we will have and think we should throw away. They have those containers, taking their meal, sitting down to eat. And you know what I was told? That this meal these kids are having, 95% of those children, that's the only meal they will have for the day. It brought me back to thinking of my country, St. Lucia, my island home, where our children are now going to school with bags that cost $100, $200. It's almost as if it's a competition thing. And we think that we are living in a less developed country. But there are people who are in worse cases or worse circumstances than we are. And it made me think how grateful that we should be. It make these situations, and I have traveled a lot. I've, just in August, I was in Switzerland. I lived in Southeast Asia managing five-star hotels for a while before COVID. But seeing this situation, it made me realize how much we take for granted and how grateful we should be. And in regards to New Year resolutions, I agree with you. I I used to do it many years ago until I realized, you know what, this is just a buzzword. I rather say that I'm setting goals for the year. So I trash out what we call New Year resolutions. I no longer do that. I no longer live by it. I no longer speak it. What I suggest is to make sure that you have goals and you write down those goals, because having a goal in your head, it's only a dream. But if you write it down, you know you have a goal. You know you have something that you're looking forward to accomplish. And how do I go about accomplishing goals that I can share here on this broadcast? Is some of our goals are so big, they're like mountains. And so some of us suffer from imposter syndrome, from procrastination. But one of the ways to combat these and to achieve our goals is to break down those big goals into smaller goals. And if they can be broken down into two, three smaller goals, so now what you're doing, instead of trying to take a big leap, you're now taking small steps. It's just like, let's look at the example of wanting to lose weight. Some of us want to lose weight, but we just don't know how to go about doing it. We say the same thing year in and year out. But one thing you can do is to write it down. Secondly, say, how am I going to do that? Maybe, you know what, if I'm having 2 ice cream bars a day, I will break it down and have 1 ice cream bar a day. If I'm not exercising and I'm intimidated by the gym, maybe instead of going to a gym, I will start walking. Maybe instead of giving myself a big goal to walk an hour a day, I will start walking 10 minutes a day. Then you increase it to 15. Then you increase it to 20. And in a year, you will be surprised how these small steps have taken you to achieving something really big.
I must say I agree with you 100% as well. And even adding to that, I think a lot of the times we feel really pressured, societal pressures as well. And some of us who are not as tough would easily succumb, you know. And even with what you do, grounding persons, encouraging and motivating as well. I want to ask you, and it's one of the things that I think goes hand in hand with your skills. I mean, affirmations play an integral part as well to self doubting ourselves, to say, yes, I can, I am beautiful, I can do it, I believe in me. I am, just the I am, and reinforcing and just not letting the naysayers, get to us to say you cannot, who you think you are to do such a thing, or how it's you, just dismissing, those little doubts. And with that, I really want to ask you, what are some of the like the core areas you focus on when training, I mean, organizations, leaders, and so forth? And even me sitting here today as the host, I feel really privileged that I am actually taking some things from this discussion to really apply to myself as well.
Thank you for sharing that, because I always believe that, um, life is a long learning process. And some of the core areas that I focus on, one is confidence driven, heart centered leadership. Confidence is not something that we are born with. Confidence is something that we learn. It's a skill that can be taught, it's a skill that can be learned. Having mentioned affirmations, affirmations is actually it's a tool that you can use to help build your self-confidence. Now, reciting affirmations is not enough, because you can be reciting affirmations from morning until night and you do not take action, you will get nowhere. What I normally ask my participants or mentees or people I speak with to pair affirmations with is a mirror. It can be a small mirror, it can be a big mirror. If you do have a mirror, to do what you call the mirror talk with your self affirmations. It's okay to look in the mirror and hug yourself. It's something I do as often as possible. It's okay to look in the mirror and say, I am beautiful. It's okay to look in the mirror and say, I deserve it. It's okay to look in the mirror and say, I can have, be on, and do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So, one of the core areas of my training is confidence driven, heart centered leadership. What do I mean by heart centered leadership? I mean leading from the heart. And I hope that we have leaders listening to me today, Cabrina. A lot of the times we believe leadership is based on title. Oh, I am the president of this. Oh, I am the CEO of this. I am the manager. As a matter of fact, manager is not a word I like to use at all. I don't believe in managers. I don't believe in bosses. You're not managing anyone. You're not anyone's boss. You're a leader. A leader is not someone who was doing well in one area and you feel because this person is doing well, I'm going to promote that person. You might promote that person only to realize that this person is performing extremely bad as a leader. A leader is someone who's empathetic, someone who leads from the heart. Now, that does not mean leading from the heart, you cannot say no. Leading from the heart, you cannot be assertive. That's not what it means. Heart-centered leadership means putting yourself in somebody else's shoes and seeing how tight the shoes fit. Heart centered leadership is seeing, identifying talent within your team. It is an employee calling in sick, and later you're calling to find out how that employee is doing. It is seeing, you've heard the saying, one bad apple spoils the bunch. It is seeing the bad apple in the bunch and removing the bad apple before it spoils the whole bunch. It is seeing, having a vision and seeing your team's vision and helping them grow. Because we all have something that we are strong at. All of us. What you may be good at, I may not be good at. And a good leader will identify what each member of their team is good at and place them in those roles. You probably have heard square pegs in round holes. A lot of the times, as leaders, we feel okay, this person is a cousin or this person is a friend. We will put them in a leadership role. Is this person able to lead the team to where the organization needs to go? That's the next question. So, another core area of my training is emotional intelligence. Being emotionally intelligent enough to be able to help your team grow and to achieve the organizational goals. and personal goals. Because when an organization grows and is growing well, it's not all about the organization. It's about the people in the organization. People makes up a company. A company does not make up people. And that is why I say to people, when an employee give you a resignation letter, the employee is not leaving the organization. The employee is leaving you as the people. People don't walk away from organizations, they walk away from people. I also focus on communication and trust building, service excellence and guest experience, leading through change, because as we know, change is the only constant. Now, the buzzword is AI. People are afraid that artificial intelligence will take on their jobs. And team culture and performance. When you focus on team culture and performance, it will increase productivity and bottom line profitability.
Well said. Speaking of AI, in today's fast changing workplace, what skills do you think are most important for professionals to develop? And just out of concern, I mean, yes, I can say I'm in media, um, 15 years and counting, but
Wow,
then
so
being,
long?
yes,
Oh
but
my God.
actually being put out there, for example, okay, Kabrina, you selected to go and open prayers or welcome remarks and whatnot. And it's like your heart starts to race. It's like, what am I going to say? What can I just knowing, that you're going to be on that platform and hundred of eyes are watching you. You can't do it within yourself, but then you still, I think it's just the fear sometimes that would maybe kind of cripple you. How do I overcome? I mean, in your opinion, what advice can you learn that maybe I can actually put towards me being able to change the trajectory of such?
Okay, I will answer the first question and then this one. Um, I would say soft skills are very important in today's changing world. I would say that adaptability, being able to adapt to changes, that's very important because, like we were saying, we're living in a very fast changing world. Emotional intelligence, how you deal with people, communication, and of course, confidence. Because in the modern workplace, it demands leaders who can navigate uncertainty. You want to be able to navigate. Something happened last night, you have to rush to the radio station, maybe it wasn't something you were thinking about. You need to be able to adapt and navigate uncertainty. You need to be able to connect with people. We tend to downplay the importance of people human connection. So immediately you go to a networking event or you go to a gathering, and the first question you hear, Kabrina, and it rubs me the wrong way: what do you do? Well, what I do does not define who I am. I may be a teacher, but does it really define who I am in the heart? And so, why don't you ask me, how was your week? Or how was your day? Or how do you feel today? And we downplay human connection, but human connection is the catalyst for success. It's if I was to come to you and say, I have this phone that I am selling to you today, you may not buy it. But if you know me and you trust me, you might say, oh, I'm going to buy this phone. Sometimes we don't buy the product, we buy the relationship. And that is so important. So connecting with people and making decisions with clarity. Because we have to understand, confidence is not about loudness. It's about grounding self-trust. When professionals build that, they have everything because it will strengthen everything else. To answer your question, no matter how seasoned of a speaker you are, you will get jitters. But as I always say to my children, my nieces, my nephews, and everyone I come into contact with, I believe that poor preparation brings about poor performance. If you are invited to speak, you ought to make a certain amount of preparation. You have to be prepared for it. Whether it's just silent thoughts you are whispering through your head, it does not matter, or writing down the topic and getting yourself more familiarize yourself with the topic to be better prepared to present on stage. Because when we are prepared, it boosts our self confidence. Another thing that helps really well is dressing up. And we downplay the importance of how we show up for ourselves. I live in corporate America. I am working from home today, and this is how I'm dressed. And I tell people, dress how you want to be addressed. Cabrina, I can't begin to share with you where everywhere I go, the one thing everyone will say to me is, Miss Robinson or Pamela or Pam, you're always well put together. One, what dressing up does, it boosts your self confidence. It makes you feel good. And when you feel good, you show up for yourself in a particular way that no one can tell you you're not beautiful or you don't know what you're talking about. I bet you've come across people where they're so well put together and they approach you and they speak to you and you go, wow, this person really knows what they're talking about. And who knows, maybe the person doesn't even have a clue in terms of what they are saying. But because they carry themselves in a particular way, they come across in a particular way. So I would suggest that you, of course, be prepared, dress well, it will boost your self confidence. And the other thing is invest in yourself. The greatest investment we can make is to invest in ourselves. And when I say invest in ourselves, immediately people put the cost factor or money right behind it. Investing in yourself does not mean you have to spend a dime. It could be reading a book. It could be watching a YouTube video. It could be going on Instagram to watch something that aspire you. Now, with all of that said, social media is a big thing, and we can use it either to our advantage or to our disadvantage. I use social media all the time. I cut out the noise and I use what I can gain things from. So invest in learning.
Thank you so much. And definitely looking to apply some of those things in my day to day. But then a lot of valid points were shared here. And again, a lot of the times, managers or supervisors or leaders believe being placed in the managerial post is basically to wear that peacock hat, be as proud as a peacock, and not putting in the work as well. And especially to, on a one-on-one, know your team, because different personalities as well. And no 2 days are the same, because sometimes the best worker for some apparent reason would come in 2 day, for example, and not be in the best of modes and not be putting in the 100% as per the norm. Reason they lost a loved one, something happened last night, an unexpected news, something would have actually transpired to have them portraying, such a behavior. And again, it goes back to knowing who you are, knowing the people around and with you, and trying, and forming a bond is important as well, because you spend most of your times on a job, and you automatically adopt that formally, so sometimes you should be able to as well be comfortable enough to say, hey, I need to speak to you about something. And even a lot of places, when you decide to take that approach, before the day's end, you would have already heard it for the entire workplace, the streets and stuff, like, I have a headache, I need whatever. And then you would, oh, when you walk out, sometimes you would hear, hey, but Karina, what happened to you? I heard your head was hitting you. I heard, just a scenario like that. So again, I think it's vital who we talk to, or who can be trusted, or, stuff like that.
I think you're dropping so many nuggets of wisdom. It's such a great conversation, Cabrina. A major mistake that we as leaders do is we lead from a place of authority because we have the label quote unquote manager or leader or whatever, instead of leading from a place of humanity. At the end of the day, we are all human beings, and many leaders focus on the task and they forget about the people. Again, leadership, being a leader and an exemplary leader, you ought to lead by example. You ought to stop thinking of me and think of we. When you start thinking of we instead of me, you will be successful. You will start being an exemplary leader. You will start leading by example because you will not only be thinking of you in the situation. If a member of your team has confided in you to share something is happening at home, what make you believe that from your place of authority instead of from a place of humanity that you can share this with other people? This person confided in you. And this is where it's a big mistake that leaders are making: poor communication. Because it's really a form of poor communication, or else you would not be going outside and saying, oh, Cabrina came in, she's not feeling well, or she was in a fight with her better half last night. Certain things are not meant for the majority. That is why your team member selected you to share it with, because at the end of the day, we all share one common factor. And that common factor, Cabrina, is being human. No matter how much money we have, no matter the position, and I will swear and say that position does not define you as a leader, it's really your heart. At the end of the day, we are dealing with humans just like us. So leadership is not about title. It's not about authority and using it sometimes in the wrong way. It's about empowerment. It's about uplifting each other, because when you uplift yourself and the team, it's a we aspect. You grow together and it's continuous practice.
Definitely. All the comments are coming in and some valid points are definitely being extracted. Kayo's connection, wow. Deep, heart centered leadership. Georgiana Cardi, good morning. Sophia Cluzelma, a great speaker, very influential and motivating. Very proud of you. Joan Wells, a lot of leaders here in St. Lucia lack emotional intelligence skills. This is 100%. That's not a lie. Again, Aleta, Rennie, great speaker. Kairos, wow, wow, wow. I can listen to you the entire day. Some really deep points shared, and I can just go on. We have
Thank
Romanus
you.
as well. Very good message. And you can read it for yourself even after we conclude this discussion here.
Thank
But
you.
I think, like I said, it's timely. And even me sitting here right now, I'm definitely going to bring you on because there were a lot of areas, I think we need to touch on as well. Let's break some glasses. People need to hear it because we get up, we go in our day to day, and we feel sometimes we know it all, we're untouchable. Sometimes we're afraid of being corrected. And again, approach says a lot of things because if you are a manager and or a supervisor for that matter, I need to know how to relate to you. And um, you give me attitude, definitely I give you 10 times attitude, and then you would want to write me up or report me to the manager. And how did it started? Look within yourself. What's your approach? What you definitely dish out is what you will get back tenfold. I am not a bad person. You did not come at me right. Definitely, I would serve you what you deserve. And those are merits. I mean, that continuously happen all the time that people need to realize. Look within, watch your approach, put yourself in our shoes.
I agree with you. I always say you receive what you give out. And one thing I always say when I conduct leadership training, whether with employees, because I normally start from the bottom. A lot of the times, businesses bring me into their establishments to say, hey, Miss Robinson, last year we made $100,000 in profit. This year we've only made 50. And I always tell them, I look around, I conduct assessments, and I say, show me your team, and I will tell you who the leader is. It always starts from the top. A lot of the times they try to blame the employees, but it starts from them. And you made a very valid point. It really, Cabrina, and I cannot place emphasis enough on this. It starts from within. When your leaders, and I hope employees are listening to this today, and leaders likewise, when you treat a person, and it could be you, it could be me, in relationships, in friendships, in everything that we do, it has a ripple effect. When you treat someone in a particular way, and I'm very passionate about this, it's really not about the other person, it's about you. When I come on the job as a leader and I treat you, Cabrina, in a way that is not pleasing, in an ill mannered way, it's not about you. Try to not take it personal. It's about me and about what's happening inside of me. What we do as human beings, we project outwards what's happening inwards. And that is why when I realized this was my calling, I had a purpose to give back, to speak out, to conduct leadership training and different forms of training. I decided to do a diploma in counseling and psychology. My master's is in marketing, and I've always been fascinated by human psychology. But I wanted to dig deeper to find out why are we behaving the way we are behaving. Whether we're in a relationship and we're speaking one-on-one with our partner and we quickly snap, or we have a girlfriend, in front of her it's one thing, behind her back we're gossiping, we're putting her down, we're spreading rumors. It's really not about our friends. It's really not about our partners. It's about us, what's happening inside, and we're bringing it outside. It's just like looking at any person. You will hear, oh, you're so beautiful, your skin is so flawless. You can take all the vitamins in the world, all the minerals. You can eat well, you can exercise. If your thoughts are not right, it will project outwards, and vice versa. You can exercise, take the vitamins. If you're not eating well, remaining hydrated, it will show on your skin. So everything is a multifaceted approach.
Thank you so much. Here's a comment you may love very much, Sanu Joseph. So happy you are doing this interview for St. Lucian's in Suffolk. We do so many workshops in the north and we forget the south.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. It is so true. And it's thank you, Sanyu. I when I started this thing, and I have been in leadership for several years. I've been a general manager, I've been a director of sales, and as I said, I started from the bottom up. I don't believe anyone should preach leadership if they've not been there. I don't believe anyone should preach entrepreneurship if you've not had a business and fail. This is how I feel. It's just like going to a gym. I do not think someone who is obese should be at a gym trying to teach somebody else, because until you get to a place where you feel, or where you're teaching from what you've experienced. It's just like taking an empty cup. You cannot pour out of an empty cup, meaning you cannot give what you do not have. And so I have reached out, even if I am based in North America, I have reached out to so many companies in St. Lucia, and to send proposals, and they will say, oh yes, that's so attractive. And Cabrina, you won't believe, they will come back and say, we're not ready for this, or some may not respond at all. But it is my dream and my goal that one day our leaders will be open to training, because A recent research by Deloitte showed that companies that invest in training see a significant immediate increase in productivity and performance by at least 21%. What does that mean? It means that it is valuable that companies invest in training, and not just companies, but us as people invest in ourselves. Because when you invest in yourself, you feel better about yourself. You can go into any room and start any conversation about any topic because you know that you've acquired the knowledge needed to be able to discuss that topic. But software is an area that is near and dear to my heart, and I know very soon I will be able to give back to software in a very, very meaningful way.
And the question to tie that is, what are some common leadership mistakes you see organizations um, repeat, I mean, constantly as well, given your expertise, having been on various platforms and countries as well?
I think the first one is underestimating the power of training, underestimating the value of training. This is where it all starts. The second one, which I believe that I have spoken about because I'm so passionate about, is making the mistake of leading from a place of authority instead of from a place of humanity. When you start leading from a place of humanity, you will achieve results a lot faster than trying to lead with a place from a place of authority in terms of your position, because titles does not define who you are. Titles does not make you a good leader. Your heart does, and the way you treat and care for others. And of course, as I've mentioned before, focusing on the task ahead and not about the people. That's a huge mistake that we make as leaders. Another one is poor communication, not communicating clearly to employees, not communicating clearly to team members. By doing so, another thing that is very prevalent is micromanaging. We believe, okay, I am a leader. I will tell Sabrina to do a certain thing, but I need to have my hand over her head. That's the only way she can do what I ask. No. Micromanaging suffocates and cripples your employees' growth. It cripples them from moving forward. You will get mediocre work and not their full potential.
Thank you. My son who says so right. I remember,
Okay, I can see
yes.
the comment. I remember starting a mystery shop of business or companies to see where they needed training and how they can improve customer. They never took interest, but they lament that solutions have no customer training. And I understand what you. Thank you, Sanyu. It is so prevalent, Sanyu. I remember. I'll just share a story here. I remember taking on a position as general manager at a five-star boutique hotel in Southeast Asia. And I signed the contract. Trust me, it was a great package. The only thing I had to do, Cabrina, was get dressed on mornings and go to work because everything else was done for me. I lived at the hotel. And the following day, after arriving on property, I said, oh my God. I realized, you know what? It's like I felt I had made a mistake, because why would I take on it's a property that was only 2 years old, but because the people were not taking ownership of the property, it was deteriorating very quickly, so it was in a very deplorable condition. And then I sat back, and again, what I preach, I said, Pam, there's an opportunity in the challenge. The challenge is what you're faced with, the status of the property, how you're going to bring it up or bring it back to normalcy in a short possible space of time. But the opportunity, you have the opportunity to learn and work with a new culture. You have the opportunity to show the team members that no matter how things are, you can make something great out of it. So I decided to stay. And one of the key things I realized, an occupancy was fluctuating between zero, for the most, I think 15%. And I realized after doing a post-mortem, because the company, it was dead before it was alive. And I said, you know what? I need to do a post-mortem. I sat back, and one thing to learn is no man is an island. No man stands alone. God did not make us to do life alone. And so we always need each other. So I did not do it alone. I brought in the leaders with me, and we sat down, and I created a plan of action. And one of the key and most important was training, customer service training, wine training, menu engineering training, everything you can think of. And that particular year, we had a budget, because the budget was already done before I took over. So I had a budget of 26 million pesos, to make sure this was my target for the year. And that's owner's profit, that's gross. So in US dollars, that would be about maybe 250, quarter of a million US dollars. And can you imagine, with training and everything put together, not only did we make more than that, we made 57 million pesos, which is almost 700,000 US dollars, more than $500,000 in owner's profit. And that was through training. So we sometimes downplay the importance of training, but it is critical.
Thank you for this insight. Let's look at women empowerment. What advice do you give to women who are aspiring to leadership roles or even entrepreneurship, as we've been discussing throughout this program?
First and foremost, believe in yourself. Secondly, invest in yourself, because it will help you to believe in yourself even more. Thirdly, own your voice. Don't shrink yourself to fit into spaces. Instead, go and expand those spaces. Don't go places that you are not welcome. You're not appreciated. Create your own spaces. Invest in your skills, build your network, and trust your intuition. Because you know what, Cabrina? Leadership is not about perfection. Entrepreneurship is not about perfection. Too many people sit on their dreams and do not make it, or do not materialize it, because they're waiting for the perfect day, the perfect time, to have the perfect marriage, the perfect relationship. It's not going to happen, because perfectionism does not exist. It's about who you are. It's about bringing your authenticity into the world. So it's about your authenticity. It's about your courage, and it's about heart. As I said, wrapping it up to the beginning of my conversation with you, heart-centered leadership. You know, I watched my mother lead with strength and with grace. And that taught me that women are powerful beyond measure. And I'm passionate about this. And you know what makes us even more powerful? And we downplay it because we are too busy gossiping about each other, putting each other down, breaking down each other instead of bringing each other up. Collaboration. Start thinking of collaboration instead of competition,
Yes.
because we all have something to give to the world. We are all unique, and everything. I am different from you, you're different from me. What I have to give to the world, you don't have to. Stop competing and start collaborating.
Very good. Very good.
You have any
No,
concerns
no
or
worries.
comments?
Very good. Very good. Wonderful show. Amazing show. Keep it up. Amazing.
Thank you so much. My colleague is just emphasizing and applauding this program as well. And a lot of points he says persons definitely need to apply it at our organization.
Wow, thank you.
Here I am to ask, and I think it just answered the question with me asking you, what has been the most rewarding part of your work so far? And I know you keep on highlighting your upbringing, your mom, the principles, and everything that was instilled in your upbringing also enable shape who you are today, most definitely.
Um, Ask the first part of the question again.
What has been the most rewarding part of your work so far? And then I touched on you place a lot of emphasis on your upbringing, your mom, and the different principles instilled, which definitely shaped who you are today as well.
I think the most rewarding part of what I do is being able to change lives in a positive way, being able to give back and to see, because I have mentorship programs where I help young leaders become the leaders of tomorrow. I help young entrepreneurs. As we speak, I am receiving messages from South Africa. I am the keynote speaker, a virtual keynote speaker on Saturday at a conference to help. The title is Build Your Confidence with the University of Swaziland, the University of Eswatini, and just to see the hope on the young people faces and the questions that they come back to ask me, and how I am able to transform lives, to help people to believe in themselves. Because let's face it, Cabrina, where I am today is not where I was 10 years ago, not even where I was yesterday. Where I am today is not where I started. My mother did her best, but when I first left high school, I went off on my own. I did certain things that maybe people thought was the worst thing I could have done. But like I said, where you come from does not define where you are going. Where you come from does not define who you become. It's about how you feel and how you value yourself. And so the most rewarding part of my career is being able to transform lives and transform companies and organizations. And of course, it all boils down to human beings, because the organizations do not run themselves, they are run by people.
Great point, and I can tie that with this comment from Sophia Cluzelmo. Kudos to you, Cabrina, for bringing such a great speaker.
Wow.
Yes, the
Thank you.
organization didn't bring, is the individual who brought the person. Yes, nice.
The organization will never bring.
Um, what have you ever had a moment where someone told you your message changed their life?
All the time. I can show you WhatsApp messages. People are reaching out to me via Instagram, Facebook, um, WhatsApp, you name it. And one thing I do, Cabrina, and I talk a lot about titles because people tend to believe because you're a general manager or you're a global speaker, you're a corporate trainer, you're higher than them. No, we're all the same. I've always asked God to keep me humble.
Oh,
And I
I
have
think you need to definitely repeat that.
Thanks.
You need to,
Amen.
to,
yes.
Yeah.
I think I was saying that people tend to identify others by the titles that they carry. But I want people to know on this broadcast that titles does not define who you are, neither does it define who I am. When I meet people, I hate them to ask me what I do, because what I do does not define who I am, right? And so, one thing I've always asked God, I remember when I first became a general manager and was making, when you six-figure incomes. I remember saying to God, please, please, God, keep me humble. And to this day, Cabrina, He has kept me humble. To this day, every morning when I pray, I say, God, please give me a heart like yours. And if He gives me a heart like His, it means I will go out and impact the world in a positive way.
Wow, wow, wow. I could stay here the entire day. There's always lessons learned. And a lot of the times we tend to think we're too grown for correction or to learn. But every day you learn, you relearn, you unlearn, you try to get a better version of yourself. A lot of things, and I need your insight on that. A lot of times in workplaces, management, supervisors, they do not acknowledge the good in you to say, well done, Cabrino, kudos, oh, you did well, you were awesome. But they were very quick to pull you up. Oh, you were late today, why you did this, why you did that, why. It's the why, and not the congratulatory messages when you actually do well.
That's why you have dysfunctional organizations. And before I go on to this, I just want to say out there that one thing I know deep in my heart, because the world is constantly changing, we have something new to learn every day, whether it's a new word, whether it's to increase your vocabulary. The one thing I know is I know nothing at all. And having dysfunctional organizations, these are leaders who believe they know it all.
Sure.
And if you believe you know it all, then there's no need for you to even be at work. You should have the best organization. You should own the best company because you know it all.
Right.
Because if an employee, you ought to be able, and that's what I said in the beginning, humanity, heart-centeredness. If we are leading from the heart, it's just leading, it's almost as if it's like running a household. When you have children in the household and they've done something nice or something, we ought to be able to praise them for a job well done. It's just like amongst ourselves, in our friendships, our relationships. You see, the way leaders behave on the job, that's how they behave at home. The way they behave on the job, that's how they behave. They may not do the physical thing, but in a subtle way, they are doing it. Because as exemplary leaders, and remember what we started with, Cabrina, not there are managers and leaders. Managers are people who believe they need to manage from a place of authority. And I am selecting my words purposefully. When you manage people, you look down at them. You see yourself as the boss. When you lead people, you take yourself out and you make it we instead of me.
Facts.
And when you start making it we, you will see when your employees, as a matter of fact, you will focus on the good that they do and not what they do not do. You will focus on when someone has done something great to commend them on a job well done, as opposed to paying attention to when she comes in late. And it's okay because you ought to be able to correct your team members. It's okay to call you on a side and say, Cabrina, I noticed you were a little late today. I know that's not like you. What happened? Did you miss the bus? Was it traffic? Was it something at home? Is there something I can do to help you manage your time better? I had an employee who was he was the sous chef. I had an executive chef at one organization that I led. And very quick on, I realized the executive chef was there because he knew the owner, not because he was a true leader. But the sous chef who worked under him, who was his subordinate, had every good skill, every good trait a good leader would have. He would be on time. He would speak to the team members. But guess what? He failed his performance evaluation for the first time with me based on certain criterias. What somebody else would say, you know what? He failed, you need to let him go. No. I identified his great skills. I focused on that. And instead, what I did was to create an improvement plan for him. It was a 6-month improvement plan. And I sat with him and I said, you are good at this, great at that. Certain areas need improving. And this is what not what he would do, but what we would do as a team to help him improve those areas.
I am very happy you mentioned the improvement plan. Our organization, however, we have appraisals being done, and even after filling the necessaries and there's a benchmark, a lot of persons sometimes do not qualify for it, but then you would highlight strengths and weaknesses, and sometimes you may have time frame, whatnot. But then even after that, like it just goes out of the window. Nothing really happens in terms of, okay, I recognize your weaknesses. What would you like done? Sometimes you would put training and whatnot, which happens sometimes, which doesn't really happen, which takes a long while before it happens. And like it doesn't materialize.
The real reason for a performance evaluation is to sit down with your team members. First and foremost, it's a process. And again, it all boils back to the leaders. Do they really know the reason and the importance behind performance evaluations?
Right.
Again, it starts from the top. If the leader knows the reason, first and foremost, there's a process. You have to give to the employee that form days or weeks in advance, so they themselves can evaluate themselves in the right way to do it. And then the leader will now have his or her form, which is the same one that you've been given and has evaluated you. Then there will come a time when that leader will call and say, Cabrina, I've given you this form for the last week. We will have your evaluation next week, Wednesday. You should walk the right process. You should walk in with your form. I have my form, and I will go through, not my form, but your form with you to hear where you've placed yourself in terms of ranking, because most questions, there's a marking system. And so if you were to say, okay, in terms of punctuality, lateness, I gave myself a 10. I would
Wow.
say, really, um, why you gave yourself a 10, Cabrina? So we go through it. You'll say, because 99% of the time I am on time. Um, However, I know I was late last week, and then I can have my form and say, Cabrina, I gave you a 9 because I believe there is room for improvement. Because on a number of occasions, and then I would bring up the occasions, and then we will agree. And you would say, okay, yes, Pamela, you're right. I did come in a few times. I know that's an area for me to work on. And then now we tally everything up. At the end, you will get an overall grade. If it's less than, let's say, I would say anything less than 70, there's lots of room for improvement, like in any facets of our lives. And as an exemplary leader, what I would do is to create an improvement plan and look at the areas that you've scored low and say, these are the areas for improvement. Let's work on this. Let's create a plan together, and to create the plan with you in mind, with your help. Because the one thing you don't want to do is to create a plan that you cannot meet those goals. Does that make sense?
Facts.
And by right, every company should have biannual evaluation at least twice a year. Now, throughout that period, when you have given an employee a low grade and you've given them an improvement plan, the improvement plan is not just something written up and you put it away for dust to accumulate dust. No. It should be something you say at the end of every month, Cabrina, on the 5th of the month or the 25th of the month, we will meet to discuss your progress. That's the reason for a performance evaluation.
Thank you so much for that. My colleague may have a question or concern. Go ahead, please.
No, I don't have a question. See, I'm just simply, a lot of wonderful, amazing points you made. And I'm just simply saying, if the people under your leadership are not becoming bigger, bolder, braver versions of themselves, then you're not leading the people. To me, you're just using people.
He said it right. Because, like I've said, show me your team and I will tell you who the leader is. If my team, they're investing in themselves, they're eager to learn, they're working with enthusiasm, I don't need to know who the leader is. It means the leader is investing in his or herself, always doing something, bonding with the team, building the team. You don't even need to know who the leader is.
Another thing noticed some places in regards to, especially when you have toxic leaders, they don't like clarity because clarity means accountability.
That's correct. You said it right. And a toxic leader, all a toxic leader will do is to toxify the entire team. Think of a rotten potato or a rotten apple. I can't help but to just share a personal story. I am representing the number one historic hotel in America. You can look it up. It's called Hotel Bethlehem. I am providing them with support. And the managing director, he was also the general manager. He just hired a general manager. So I'm providing consultancy for them. I'm doing consultancy for them. And I can't help but to realize the managing director, the owner, he's always at the hotel. He's always at the restaurant, sitting with the team members, not just his general manager or his director of sales, but his servers, his receptionist, having a chat with them on a day-to-day basis. Do you know that 99% of his employees have been with the hotel for over 5 years? Some of them have been there for over 15 years, and that says everything.
Wow. Food for thought.
It is.
Yes. Um, 18 minutes after the hour in Surface and Ocean, of course, the Eastern Caribbean. And Clozel will continue to say, invite her back. So much to learn. I love her. Enlightening discourse, indeed. And all the sentiments are pouring in. And even before that, I did make a mention of, you will be back sooner than you think, for sure. I'm going to give you some time. You have a function on Saturday, as you rightfully mentioned. And like you did when you are ready, you can always link me, my girl. That's not a problem.
I will. I
Sure.
will. As a matter of fact, I'm hoping and praying that I can be in St. Lucia at some point before mid-year and host an event in Soufre for our young people, for not just young people, but for everyone to come out. And because I believe we need that. As I always say, we cannot pour out of an empty cup. If a cup is empty and you try to pour out of it, there's nothing, no content coming out of it. You can only pour out of what has something in it. And I believe it's my duty and my responsibility to pour into my people of Fossechak and Soufre.
Definitely. And with that, I'm going to extend the courtesy as well to have you grace us, just pep talk with my PMA club members as well.
Thank
A
you.
lot of the times, again, when we look at our youthful population, they have strayed. And a lot of them, you find the young ones, especially teenage pregnancy, delinquent behavior for the guys, gang and guns, and we need to draw them closer, to God. And when we say these things, the parents would actually be like, my child is not an Adventist, my child is not Catholic. And you find all these rumblings with domination, but it has nothing to do with that. It's just wanting them to adopt, where are you spiritually? You need to come into make that place and space to have him, to worship him, to call on him in the midst of everything, and not just the calamity of stuff, but in everything, in the tranquility as well.
You said it right. I think the Bible says it, in everything acknowledge him. And I am a big advocate. I was born and raised in the Catholic Church and Catholic faith. And I do go to church when I get a chance. I try my very best to. But I am one who will say to you, Cabrina, that religion does not save us. What saves us is our faith, our belief in God. What saves us is having that very foundation to know that He is God. What saves us is to know that we should believe in a higher power, because the Bible says it. It's not our words. Eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, nor has it registered into the hearts of men what God has in store for those who love Him. Now, I know you mentioned teenage pregnancy, you mentioned all the ills that are plaguing us right now. We go back to the foundation. Now, that does not mean we won't go astray. We are human beings. You may have a child coming from my first child. I had my daughter at the age of 18, and I came from a great home. My mom did her best. Now, the thing is, had I not have God, had I not have supporters to help me get back on track, like we're agreeing, back in the day, it was a village who raised a child and not the other way around. Now you have schools where parents do not want the teachers to correct their children. Parents do not want society or anyone in the community to speak to their children, and so the children are left to be raising on their own, to be raised on their own. They are their own parents. We have so many young people are being parents, are being mothers, are being fathers, so they're not physically present in the house, and so the children are left to be doing their own things. But we know that those young parents, they need to go out and work. They need to go out and bring bread back home. But if we give our children a foundation, if we give them a holy ground to step on, they will slip, but they will not fall. Train up a child in the way they should go, and when they get old, they will not depart from it. As I started the conversation, my mom raised us in prayer. And she did not only raise us in prayer, she taught us. She raised us with prayer. To this day, I can recite so many of the Psalms by heart because of the foundation that I had. So, my thing is, it's not about going to the Catholic Church or attending the Seventh day Adventist Church or Protestant. That does not save us. What saves us is ensuring that we provide our children with structure. We give them a foundation that to teach them that life will be hard. It's not a bed of roses. It's not what we read in the fairy tale stories. And when life gets hard, that they can call on God and not allow the devil to take possession of them.
Thank you so much for that. And like we keep encouraging, hoping persons who are definitely online, because we see a heavy presence there, that they will take, if not one, two things, a line from this discussion and apply it. And you will definitely see that change, as little as may be. Let's look at, from your perspective, what opportunities exist in the Caribbean for leadership and professional growth, because sometimes we say we really feel stifled. We leave our country and we tend to migrate, and sometimes for betterment, and it works out definitely. Like a king, as we say, cannot be recognized or cannot get the crown in their own country.
In terms of opportunities, I always believe that opportunities do exist where we see they are. It's all about what we see and how we see them. You said it right. And I remember back in 2023, after 2 years not having visited home, I was I had plans to visit home. And I said, you know what? I'm speaking on global stages. I speak everywhere in America, everywhere. I want to give back. I want to give back to my alma mater. And of course, I attended the Sufre Comprehensive Secondary School. And I reached out. I sent letters upon letters. I remember one person responded and was trying her best to try and make sure. Can you imagine? And I am happy to say this here. Leon Hess allowed me to speak at the school to fifth formers. Antripo Secondary School allowed me to speak to their students and wanted me to even come back before I left. And several other schools, but I never heard back from the Sufre Comprehensive Secondary School. And it really touched me because in my heart, that's my alma mater. I would have loved to give back. But to this day, I've never heard anything. I went to South Africa. I was being approached by schools, um podcast hosts. Now, even now, as I'm back, I have universities and schools reaching out to find out when I'm coming back. I just received an offer from Cape Town to for me to speak to a university in Cape Town in Africa. And so sometimes you're not a king in your own kingdom, and it's in the Bible as well. So just wanted to say that, but it is very true. The opportunities, I would say sometimes it's hard to come by. Sometimes you have to open your eyes to see the opportunities around you. Focus on relationship building, focus on networking with others, focus on collaborating. If you have a business, reach out to others with businesses. Don't see them as a competition. And the other thing is sometimes you have to create your own opportunities. So,
Okay.
for example, me being in the United States, I could have still been managing hotels. I decided to create my own opportunity because there was a need. And so sometimes you have to see the pain points, because in order to create an opportunity, you ought to see the pain points. So you have to see the pain points and create the opportunities.
Thank you for that. And here goes Kairos adding to this as well. A prophet is never acknowledged by his own people. Trust me, I know the feeling. Yes,
Very true.
Kairos, we sympathize with you as well. Um, Permit
But
me
that's when
to,
you go where you're appreciated.
yes, um, just sharing. This is me, like you made mention, yeah, collaborations are necessary, teamwork. I definitely agree with that. But for me, like as an individual, I work solo and I find I'm more productive. And I think sometimes to avoid all the distraction and the noise and stuff, like the solo works perfect for me. Is something wrong? Being
I
able
won't
to
say
just work all
something
by
is
yourself
wrong.
and not interacting too much, or when I have to, I will.
Like you said, I think you said it, you wrapped it up well. When you have to, you will. You will know when you need to replenish your social cup. Energy is everything.
Definitely.
What you give out is what you get. It's best to work solo and protect your energy than to go into the wrong crowd and bring back negative energy. Because energy energy goes, or energy flows where attention goes. So energy is everything. Everything we do is energy. Money is energy. Conversation is energy. Love is energy. It's really what you focus on. Now, sometimes you will know. Most times, if you know yourself, Cabrina, you will know when you need to refill your social cup, and you will know when you need to work solo. So I work a lot from home as well, and I work solo. But there are times I will go out and replenish my social cup, and you will know when that social battery is being depleted.
Well said. And if I were to say there was that energy right from the start where you actually reached out, I didn't ask you how, when, or why, but then I said, yeah, sure, no problem. Just give me that little time. I'm on vacay. When I get back, we will. And I kept my promise because I do not want to leave persons hanging or not even getting back to them to actually find the means to assist. And I'm really glad everything, materialized. And here we are having such an enlightening discussion as well, and realizing, hey, there is so much to be said
Oh,
where we
yes.
have to come back. There
Thank
were a lot
you.
of persons waiting, sending in their comments as well, whatever concerns, and maybe just putting themselves in that scenario as well, like Mufasa did, and a lot of persons as well. So it is reaching home, and the message definitely will not fall on deaf ears, but a lot of people will apply for some reason what they've heard, and organizations may not have sometimes like so much of what was asked because they feel maybe we're rubbing them off the wrong way. But then it is thought-provoking, it's enlightening as well, and it is for the overall benefit, of everyone.
Well said. Thank you. I can't thank you enough for having agreed to host me today as your house guest. I decided to reach out to you because I said, I am being interviewed by radio stations all the way in South Africa. People like this session would messaging and saying, how inspired they felt. And I thought immediately, if I can inspire people in the motherland, somewhere so far away from St. Lucia, and they don't know me at all, I should give back to my country. I should give back to my sweet St. Lucia. And of course, most importantly, I should give back to Soufrière, Jacques, Choiseul, and the environs. And that's why I reached out. And I'm so grateful that you did accept. Again, energy is everything. We've had a great conversation. And thank you. I want to thank everyone who took time out of their busy schedule to just be a part of these broadcasts. And I am very grateful for all of the questions. And I look forward to being a guest again.
You will most definitely, and we will continue to keep in touch as well and keep me abreast with your happenings. In closing, I just want to ask you, in terms of your projects, events you are currently working on, I think maybe the listeners should know as well.
I am working on a number of projects right now. As I said, Soufrière is one of them. I am thinking of hosting an event in Soufrière this year. I will be heading back to Africa. I am being called to host an event for International Women's Day, and a lot more. There are lots of things in the pipeline, and so as the time unfolds, I will share. But if the people who are here, part of the broadcast who joined us today, I can be reached on Facebook as Pamela M. Robinson. I can be reached on Instagram, same name, LinkedIn, same name. And I keep relevant details on here, on those social media platforms, what I am doing. So just keep following me, and you will be told, you will be aware of my next event and what I am up to.
Thank you. Finally, what is one key message you'd like to leave with our listeners today?
My key message would be, first and foremost, to believe in a higher power. Believe in a higher power, because without a foundation, you can't build a house. And secondly, when you believe in a higher power, you will believe in yourself. Because the Bible states that when Jesus walked the earth, I think it was in the book of Luke or John, he said that we can do greater things than him if we believe. And so if we believe in God, he's giving us the power to do greater than what Jesus did when he walked on earth. I mean, if we look, we can see he left, and the disciples, like Peter, was raising people from the dead. And so if we believe in God, we will build that self-confidence to believe in ourselves and know that we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us.
You hit the nail on the head, because here I am saying in all things we have to give him praise, we have to give him glory. And yes, we start off our program with this quote, and also it's good to end in it. And we share the similar as well, because it is mine. I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. And I lift my eyes onto the hills from whence thy help come from.
He comes up from the Lord who made heaven and earth.
Definitely energies again.
That's right.
Yes, sir. Wow. Time. 25 minutes moving up to the hour of 12 noon in Surface and Ocean, of course, the Eastern Caribbean. This is where I must say from the bottom of my heart, immense pleasure for gracing this platform. And I do not want to say your first time here, but it's just the beginning of our interaction here. To all those of you who extend your comments, I want to say thank you so much. Blessings to all of you, and definitely keep in touch to our next broadcast house guest next week. And yes, Miss Robinson will be joining our platform, as she has a wealth of experience and, of course, knowledge that she will be sharing with us too. And one thing I need to leave with everybody: you cannot pour from an empty cup. So this is the opportunity for you today. Have your cup half full, not empty. Even you may not be able to fill it to the brim, but half full and not half empty. This is where I end on this positive note. Thank you. Oh, my colleague has a comment.
Oh, I only have one thing to say. All right, without being that again, apart from thanking her, respected manners. Again, wonderful show. I just want to leave this here. You're no longer a leader when you compromise your principles to appease people. All right,
That is well
thank you.
said. That is well said. Because a lot of the times, as leaders, we lower our standards to appease people. And if your standard is the right standard, there's no reason to lower your standard. But as we wrap this up, one thing I wanted to say is it would be nice if we ask the audience who are present, the people who are there with us today, if there is any topic in particular that they would love to hear more about when I speak again, please pass it on to Kabrina. I would appreciate it.
Definitely. We will.
Thank you so much for that. And in all things, I wouldn't need to say goodbye without even paying homage to beautiful Fonsa Jacques and, of course, your family members. This is your time to just do a shout out.
I just want to thank my mom, Dudu. Oh my goodness. She's my everything. Because she's the reason I am who I am today. Of course, God first. I want to thank the community of Fossajak, my brother Aruba, my brother Darren. I want to thank my nieces, my nephews, my sister Cynthia. I hope she got a chance to listen to this. I want to thank her because, as I said, a village raises a child, and I wouldn't be who I am today without them. I want to thank Sandra Prosper. Sandra Prosper has been very pivotal in my life. She's played a very great role, very important role. To this day, sometimes I still bounce things off of her. Martha Calix, and so many more people. I have so many friends. I have my friend, somebody might think she's my mom or my grandmother. She's in her 80s and I speak to her all the time, Miss Janet. There are just so many people I need to say thank you to. My aunts, without everybody, I wouldn't be who I am today. My big sister, Junita, Demiana, if anyone is listening, my auntie Nanette, everyone, I just want to say a special thank you. And even to my stepdad, Mr. Peugeot. Everybody played a critical role in who I am today. Thank you so much, Mother, and I would have it no other way. And of course, my children.
Thank you so much. And of course, to those of you who may have missed this broadcast, feel free to go back and listen to the show. Very insightful as well. And of course, please, whatever topics you may have that pique your fancy, enlightenment, you can also reach out to me as well or put the post in, and we will definitely come back into force to present to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you to you, my dear. Have a blessed and wonderful day. Stay safe. Immense pleasure. We will continue keeping in touch.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And two, I wanted to mention my friend Margaret, who's always listening to me. I have a nickname for her, PAA. I just want to thank her, thank all my friends for the support. Thank you.
You're most welcome.